Hey everyone, welcome to. Don't know if this is this isn't really a podcast, but me and John thought that we should sit down and talk about what's going on at the moment with everybody, which is this coronavirus situation. We've had a few questions, a few messages from people asking about what we're going to do if the worst case happens, if everyone's told they have to stay indoors, and what's going to happen business-wise, and what we're going to be doing with that. So we thought we'd just address that all in one go and just have a chat about the situation, about what we're planning to do about it, and our approach to things. So yeah, let's just dive straight into it, I suppose. So at the moment we're at March. What's the date today? March 14th,
yeah,
15th.
14th.
So we're mid March at the moment.
13th.
And as of right now, we're not on lockdown. No one's been told they have to isolate themselves in any sort of mass way. It's only if you've got symptoms. Sporting events have been cancelled. So I think that we're both in agreement that it's going to happen at some point. Perhaps the situation might not get medically as bad as in Italy, but I would not be surprised if the government put the same measures in place. State of emergency and everybody having to quarantine themselves for a period of time, and that's quite a scary thing. Not so much certainly from a medical point of view and everything that's going on with the actual virus, but with regards to businesses and things, if it creates a knock-on effect, a ripple effect, if people aren't going to work, people can't pay their bills, and I'm pretty sure people will still be asking for their bills to be paid though. It's a worrying thing. So what have we put in place? What are we deciding to do?
So I think the first thing to say is business as usual. There's a lot of experts out there at the moment who are kind of creating a lot of hysteria. At the moment, it's business.
So are you being sarcastic? You mean average Joes who don't really know anything until this happened, and now they're fucking expert?
Yeah, I mean, if you believe the media frenzy, the world's about to end, and all those bits and pieces. We've got a busy diary for this weekend coming up. Life goes on. So some serious things happening out in the world at the moment. Thankfully, at the moment, that's not impacting us yet. The sensible way to look at it is that potentially it's going to. It looks like it's highly likely that it is going to affect us. And so from putting all things into account and making sure that we plan accordingly, it seems sensible that we put some measures in place to kind of make sure that we're able to still operate and still able to service our clients' needs, even if we're working remotely. So I think out of this, there's probably going to be some good opportunity as well. We know that, for instance, at periods of time when people are at home at Christmas, let's say, when people have prolonged holidays, not suggesting this is going to be a holiday for people, but people are going to be.
But whenever they're not business as usual.
Yeah. We know that activity from looking at properties and all those bits and pieces absolutely increases. And so I believe this, the interest rate cuts from earlier in the week from the Bank of England means that remove all the noise. There's never been a better time or a more affordable time to buy a property than there is right now. And so savvy home hunters will be out in the marketplace, and we just need to be able to do our bit to make sure that if someone is interested in viewing on one of our properties, but potentially they don't feel comfortable with doing so, that's absolutely fine. We need to be able to find a workaround, and I think we do that already with some of the stuff that we do already, but we just maybe need to just accelerate some of the plans that we had and just make it a lot easier for people to, I guess, get a more real view of our product.
Yeah, I mean, you alluded to it there in terms of accelerating plans and things. Mm-hmm. Essentially, in a very simplistic way, our thinking is that. So for the immediate future, we have been anticipating for a little while quite a big boom to happen. We thought that you had the interest rates that went way low, that we thought, and we were almost convinced, that was going to be followed by stamp duty being taken out, and then the budget came out, and it turns out they didn't do that.
Yep.
But we operated under the assumption that there was this big boom that was that was going to be happening quite soon. One of the two things that we thought would cause that did happen.
Well, we've seen that already this year. Sorry to interrupt. We've seen that already this year. We've seen a huge increase in terms of volume of people wanting to view houses. The stamp duty, changing the stamp duty threshold would have a huge impact on the market. You know, that people paying up to 500,000 would have to pay stamp duty would have been a huge shot in the arm for the market, without doubt. Actually, the surprise cut in interest rates by 0.5% to 0.25%, so from 0.75 to 0.25%. You know, the lowest interest rates of all time, and money is as cheap as it's ever going to be. So there's definitely some unbelievable opportunities out there for people, and we are seeing that with bookings for this week, and actually that we've seen all this week since the announcement was made. I guess the reason for the podcast is going that you can't ignore what's being said in the public, and therefore we need to be able to I guess, make people aware that there's options for people if they don't feel comfortable doing stuff, and not to talk to us. Which is, you know, the worst thing that people could do is kind of put stuff on hold and not do those things, when actually we might have a workaround that means that we can still be talking to them. Yeah,
absolutely, and we do have workarounds, and we have been trying to figure out the best way to adapt to this situation. So, you know, as I said, we kind of knew this boom was going to happen, and we were trying to anticipate it, and we had certain measures in place to counter this big wave that we thought was coming as a result of interest rates, as a result of more stability after the election, and what we thought was going to happen, which was a stamp duty, which didn't. But there is still this huge interest. Now, coronavirus aside, and say that hadn't existed, it was business as normal. You know, we were gonna we had some good ideas as to how to tackle this big surge. So that's that situation. Fast forward over to sort of say later in the year, summer, and going into the autumn months. Something that we have both discussed for a little while, that we are trying to work out the kinks as to how we do it. Was we wanted to challenge ourselves to be the first. Have other people done it?
Well, the thing that we wanted to do was do live viewings without people having to attend.
Yeah, we wanted
to. How could we do that?
Yeah, we wanted to basically try and do as much of the process as possible of selling a house digitally. So we were going to trial. We go out and shoot a property, and we get all the content. People can then look at that content and go, yeah, I'm interested and I want to view it. And then we were going to look at ways in which we could live stream a viewing so that people could have a viewing of a property wherever they were in the world. This was an idea that we've been playing around with for a while, and we were trying to work out how to do it. Reverse back to where we are right now, and the virus happening and people are suddenly staying indoors. I think this is actually a really good opportunity to pull that idea forward from later in the year, and that's essentially what we've decided to do to counter this situation. We've looked at the whole process of selling a house, and we've kind of gone, well, say for example we just remove all the human element from it and look at what's left digitally and what's left as an online service. Can you still do the entire process? And we believe that we can, and so that's how we're not shutting down, we're adapting to this situation.
It's never going to be the perfect scenario, you know. It's nothing like viewing a house in person. You know, I think we're found probably the next best thing.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's important to emphasise that as a good point, that we it's not like we're phasing out personal viewings, not at all. You know, I mean, we think that the personal interaction that you have with an expert as they're leading you around the house and bouncing ideas off each other of, oh well, this will be good as this, and this will be nice here, and blah blah blah. You know, you can't replace that with any sort of digital interaction. However, like you say, this is, I think, the next best thing. And also it's nice to have that option, because there are a proportion of people, regardless of what's happening in the world, who aren't as able to leave the house and do things like this. There are people who will be overseas and things like this. So it's good to have this in your back pocket.
Well, you know, the importance for us is that there's the whole business was set up to be convenient for people. We want to make the life as easy as for people as possible in terms of the home moving process. And so we are absolutely still open for business and doing viewings, and we will continue to do those for as long as we can.
Yeah.
And actually, hopefully, we don't even have to stop. So this is just a measure that we're taking. Worst case scenario. It's probably important to kind of make sure that that's prominent in people's minds. But there's some, we do have some out of area buyers who might not want to be doing travelling. They really might want to get a better view of it. We already do the professional videos, which give a good insight. This is just a bit more in depth. It's probably the finished product might not look as good or as sharp, but actually you're going to get more detail of the rooms and the features within them, and I think that's important. If you're not able to view in person, but you want to make some informed decisions about the property for you, we're probably hopefully going to be able to go that extra step further to kind of answer those questions for you.
Yeah, so I mean, I put a post out on Facebook after I had got back from a day of filming these things, where I kind of said, I alluded to what our plan was, that we wanted to essentially go out and walk the entirety of a property from one room to the next, to the next, to the next, and film every inch of it, so that if anybody wants to view but can't leave the house, we can just go, no worries, here's a video, they can hit play, and they'll just be given a guided tour of the entire property. You can pause it in certain rooms, you can rewind, fast forward to areas you want to look at, and things like this. It will be high resolution, so if you did want to take screenshots from it to annotate yourself, or or to remind yourself of certain areas of the house, you can do. So I think the key thing is that we're not, like you say, we're not shutting down, and I don't see any reason to, unless the government says all businesses cannot trade whatsoever. As long as I'm conscious and I can have my Mac and my hard drives and at home, or whether it's at home or in the studio, I don't see the reason why we can't still continue to business to operate. And so this isn't this shouldn't be a discussion about how we stop. It's about how you should adapt.
It's an additional measure that we're putting in place to kind of go, we still want people to come and do viewings, and we fully expect them to, while everyone can. But actually also this might be a next step in terms of making sure that if you're actually viewing properties, you're viewing ones that you're really, really keen on. And actually we might be able to go that step further and make sure that before you enter the house, you're even more kind of bought into it than you would have been previously. We're just bringing some things forward. From our perspective, it's important to get it out there in terms of we want people to still be interacting, and all those bits and pieces. So.
Yeah, still pick up the phone, still drop us messages. Literally, the only thing that's really changed for us is that an idea that we had that we wanted to trial and bring to market 6 to 8 months from now, we're just pulling forward and implementing it now because it's the best tool to counter this situation.
Well, the main reason for doing it is that although the activity might go down, viewing activity on property portals like Rightmove and Zoopla and anywhere else that people look for properties is going to go through the roof.
Yeah.
Because people are at home. So it's not that people are going to suddenly go, I'm no longer going to look for property. They are, even more so than they are already, and it's already very busy. So we need to be able to service that. I want to know more about this property that I'm interested in.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's the main crux of wanting to get this message out there. It's kind of going, we know that things are all going to go up. That's just nature of what happens when people are at home. So we need to be able to service people as best as we can.
Yeah. So the interest is still there, if not higher than normal.
Yeah.
So the interest is still there. It's just people might be more reluctant to actually step out and physically go and see a property. And that's actually, if you think about it that way, is not that much of a hard fix.
No.
So
it's from that perspective, it's all really positive. Actually, it's positive steps that we're doing something else to give our potential clients a more informed decision, or enabling them to make a more informed decision. So that's, whichever way you look at it, it's a good thing for us to be doing. Yeah,
absolutely. We thought we should share that with you, that this is our reaction to it. This is what we're deciding to do to counter this change in behaviour.
There might not be a change. So we're kind of getting in early to kind of say to people, if you want more information on properties, we'll have them available from next week. Fingers crossed we don't need to use it. But it's important probably just to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So as John was saying there, this is something that. So I was out yesterday filming probably about a third of our properties that we've got. I've got the rest lined up the majority of them lined up for next week, and hopefully by week's end we'll have the catalogue of video tours to be able to send out to people who want them, who aren't able to visit in person. So that's.
And we'll be doing it for all new properties as well. So that's probably another important thing to say in
Yeah,
terms of like, don't hold off making decisions because you think there's stuff happening in the background. No, it's business as usual. It's in fact, business behind the scenes will be busier than usual. So if you are thinking about doing it, actually, there's no reason not to.
Yeah.
And actually, we're going to be able to service people, so you're not at a disadvantage or hold off and wait. There's no need to do that.
Great. So I mean that's things from the business point of view. Why you have this platform, why you're here with the mic in front of you and the cameras on. Is there anything else you wanna add about this current situation? Any personal thoughts on it or anything like that?
I think just I guess thoughts and best wishes go to people who are going to be impacted in it, who obviously contract the virus.
Yeah.
I think there's everything else aside, there's going to be some people who get quite poorly, and so I think just kind of look after everyone, look after your loved ones and all those bits and pieces. It's just it's a real sad state of affairs, isn't it? And hopefully everyone can pull through, businesses, people, but most importantly, people's health. I think that's the most, actually, when you boil it all down, that's actually the most important thing, that people get out of this unscathed. We can all get through everything else.
Yeah, but I'd certainly echo that. I think that this is one of those these rare situations where it should remind you of the importance of unity. This isn't something that's affecting just one race, one gender, one nationality, or anything. It's something that's affected all of us, and I think something that affects everybody on a mass scale like this. The only thing that pulls us through it is unity and recognising that we're all in it together. So
it was interesting. Sort of a month ago, everyone was kind of the Be Kind, the Carolyn Flack movement. Well, now's a good time to demonstrate that. Look after your neighbours. If you know some people that might be impacted, elderly people and all those, kind of just checking on people. Now's probably the time to.
I was thinking about this the other day. I mean, like where I live in Camborne. I know that there's a few houses near me where there's elderly people who probably they're not able to get out of the house and things. And I think, well, if we do end up having to isolate ourselves for a prolonged period of time, then I'd like to be able to go and knock on their door and say, is there anything you need, or can I bring you anything? But then, because of the nature of what's happening, should you? Because
I just think be nice. I just think it's pulled together. Because we're all going to need one another, I think. So. Yeah,
we're not a group of individuals. Just remember, you all one big solid unit, and we're trying to pull through
remember
this.
Remember that when you're shopping at Tesco.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's
It's a different podcast altogether.
Absolutely, it is. But yeah, so that's our take on things. That's our approach to it. Like I say, this is us not saying how we're shutting down, but how we're adapting. And I think that
it's just positive. It doesn't need to be a big thing at all. We're doing something that's going to make it easier for home movers to make a better informed decision. Yes, there's a coronavirus scare, and actually that might create some problems, but actually I think ongoing we will do this anyway as part of our marketing mix, because it's just a good thing for us to do.
It's certainly a good thing to have in the back pocket, to have a folder that has video walkthroughs of all the properties. It's just a very good resource. Yeah. Brilliant. Well, that's that. Take care, everyone. Stay safe.
Stay safe. Yep. Cheers.
See you later.